Hello! Let's dive into the story. Welcome to Odd Crime Chronicles. In a small town, where dreams were as vast as the open fields, a young boy named Aiden stood out. Aiden was a beacon of hope, a good kid with a bright smile and a kind heart. He excelled in school, earning top marks and the admiration of his teachers. On the cricket field, he was a natural, his talent evident to all who watched. Aiden's athletic prowess extended beyond cricket. He was a star on the soccer field as well. With a loving family cheering him on, Aiden's dreams felt within reach. His mother, a dedicated nurse, worked tirelessly to support his ambitions. His father, though often absent, provided words of encouragement when he could. Life was good, filled with promise, but beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. I remember a boy from my own neighborhood, just like Aiden. He was talented and full of potential, but he got mixed up with the wrong crowd. In this series, we'll delve into the psychological and social factors that led Aiden down a dark path. We'll analyze the pressures he faced, the allure of a dangerous lifestyle, and the pivotal moments that changed everything. What choices would you make if you were in Aiden's shoes? The neighborhood Aiden lived in wasn't the best. Gangs were prevalent, their influence seeping into every corner. Aiden saw these older boys, their swagger and confidence. They seemed to command respect, their presence demanding attention. He craved that same sense of power, that same aura of invincibility. He started hanging out with them, ditching soccer practice for late-night gatherings. His grades plummeted. His teachers noticed the change, the spark in his eyes dimming. His mother pleaded with him, her voice thick with worry. But Aiden was lost in the allure of the streets, the pull of this new identity too strong to resist. Aiden's transformation was swift and alarming. He traded his soccer jersey for baggy clothes and a hardened exterior. The once bright smile was replaced with a scowl, his eyes reflecting a growing darkness. He started talking back to his mother, his words laced with disrespect and anger. The sweet boy she knew was gone, replaced by a stranger she no longer recognized. He started dabbling in petty crimes, shoplifting and vandalism, his actions fueled by a need to prove himself to his new brothers. The thrill of getting away with it, the adrenaline rush, became addictive. Aiden was on a dangerous path, each step taking him further away from the light. Drugs became a constant companion. Marijuana at first, a way to fit in, to numb the guilt and shame. But soon, the drug took hold, clouding his judgment, fueling his anger. Aiden's aggression escalated. He lashed out at his mother, his words cruel, his actions terrifying. The woman who had nurtured him, loved him unconditionally, was now the target of his rage. He stole from her, pawning her jewelry to fuel his drug habit. Aiden was lost in a fog of addiction, his life spiraling out of control. He had become a shell of the boy he once was, his potential extinguished by the grip of drugs and the allure of the streets. The strain on family ties. The tension in the home was palpable. Aiden's mother walked on eggshells, terrified of triggering his anger. She cried herself to sleep, her heart breaking at the loss of her son. His father, feeling helpless and frustrated, retreated further, the distance between them growing wider. Aiden's behavior had a ripple effect, tearing the family apart. His younger siblings witnessed the transformation, their innocence shattered by the fear and uncertainty that now permeated their home. The once happy family was fractured, the pieces scattered by Aiden's descent into darkness. The breaking point. It happened on a night like any other. The stadium lights cast long shadows on the field, and the air was filled with the familiar sounds of cricket, the thud of the ball, the crack of the bat, and the murmur of the crowd. The tension in the air was thick, fueled by Aiden's drug-induced paranoia. Every glance, every whisper seemed like a threat to him. His mind was a storm of confusion and fear. An argument erupted, sparked by a trivial matter, but fueled by months of simmering resentment and anger. The team had been under immense pressure, and the cracks were beginning to show. Aiden exploded, his rage uncontrollable. His teammates tried to calm him down, but it was like trying to douse a wildfire with a cup of water. He smashed furniture, his voice a roar echoing through the house. The sound of breaking glass and splintering wood filled the air, a symphony of destruction. His mother, terrified, tried to restrain him, to bring him back from the edge. She had seen him like this before, but never this bad. Her heart ached for her son, lost in his own mind. He shoved her away, her head striking the corner of a table. The sound of the impact was sickening, a dull thud that seemed to echo in the silence that followed. Blood trickled down her forehead, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and heartbreak. She reached out to him, her hand trembling, but he was already backing away, horrified by what he had done. That's when it hit him. The fog in his mind momentarily cleared, and he saw the devastation he had caused. The room was a wreck, his mother injured and his teammates looking at him with a mixture of fear and pity. The realization was like a punch to the gut. He had crossed a line, one that he couldn't uncross. The game, the team, his family, everything he cared about was slipping through his fingers, and in that moment he knew he had to change or lose everything. Behind bars, facing reality. This chapter delves into the stark reality that Aiden now faces, a reality that is a far cry from the glory and adulation of the cricket field. The police arrived, sirens wailing, their flashing lights piercing the darkness. Aiden didn't resist. The crowd that had once cheered for him now watched in stunned silence, their faces a mix of shock and disappointment. He stood there, numb, as they placed the cold steel handcuffs on his wrists. The weight of the medal was nothing compared to the burden of guilt that now pressed down on him. As he sat in the back of the police car, the gravity of his actions sank in. The familiar sight of his cricket gear, now tainted by his actions, served as a painful reminder of what he had lost. He had hurt the person he loved most in the world. The remorse was overwhelming, a constant ache that gnawed at his insides. Jail was a harsh awakening. The cold, unyielding walls of his cell were a stark contrast to the open, sunlit cricket fields he was used to. The cold, hard reality of his situation hit him with full force. The camaraderie of the locker room, the thrill of the game, all seemed like distant memories now. He was stripped of his false bravado, the tough facade he had so carefully constructed crumbling around him. The shattered cricket bat symbolized his broken dreams and the end of an era. In the silence of his cell, Aiden was forced to confront the consequences of his choices, the pain he had inflicted on himself and his family. The solitude gave him ample time to reflect on his actions, to understand the depth of his mistakes, and to ponder the long road to redemption that lay ahead. A mother's love and forgiveness. Aiden's mother visited him in jail. Her face was pale, a bandage covering the wound on her forehead. He braced himself for her anger, her disappointment, but all he saw in her eyes was love, a love that transcended his mistakes, a love that offered forgiveness. She told him she loved him, that she would always be there for him. She pleaded with him to get help, to fight for the good she knew resided deep within him. Her words were a lifeline, a glimmer of hope in the darkness that had enveloped him, choosing a different path. Aiden knew he had a long road ahead of him. He was facing charges, his future uncertain. But something had shifted within him. He was done with the streets, done with the drugs, done with the anger that had consumed him. He wanted to change. He started attending group therapy sessions in jail, pouring his heart out, confronting his demons. He realized his need for acceptance had led him down a dangerous path. That true strength lay in seeking help, in breaking free from the chains of addiction and anger. A call for understanding and support. Aiden's story is not unique. It's a reflection of a broader issue that affects countless young individuals across our nation. It's a story that plays out in communities across the country, young lives derailed by a desire to belong, by the allure of the streets. These young people often find themselves caught in a web of circumstances beyond their control, seeking acceptance and identity in places that lead them astray. We need to understand the pressures our youth face, the lack of resources, the systemic issues that contribute to these cycles of violence and despair. Many of these young individuals come from environments where opportunities are scarce, and the support systems they need are virtually non-existent. We need to offer support, not judgment. It's easy to criticize from a distance, but what these young people need is empathy and understanding. They need mentors who can guide them, communities that can uplift them, and systems that can provide them with the tools to succeed. Open lines of communication, access to mental health resources, and opportunities for positive engagement are crucial. These elements can make a significant difference in a young person's life, steering them away from negative influences and towards a brighter future. Let's work together to create a society where young people feel valued, supported, and empowered to choose a different path. A path that leads to personal growth, community involvement, and a sense of purpose. Let's be the village it takes to raise our children, to guide them away from the darkness and into the light. By coming together, we can build a future where every young person has the chance to thrive, to chase their dreams, and to become the best version of themselves. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated and support our mission. Together, we can make a difference. And let's go!